Well, to some breaking news now, and Senegal's Constitutional Court has overturned a delay to the country's presidential election. They were due initially to take place on February 25th, but then at the instigation of current President Macky Sall, Senegal's parliament postponed that vote to December. Well, let's get more on all of this with Nicolas. He joins us on the phone now from the Senegalese capital, Dakar. Nick, what happens now if this postponement is effectively cancelled? How soon could we actually see an election?
I mean, first, Nastasia, let's take stock to what this is, a historic moment in unprecedented times for Senegal. Essentially, the Constitutional Council going against the decision of the president to delay these elections to December 15th. Now, one of the key issues that they had was the Article 103 of the Constitution, which says that the president cannot stay longer than his mandate. And President Macky Sall's mandate finishes on April 2nd. The elections, he wanted them to take place on December 15th. Between those few months, that's a moment of uncertainty and a moment that's unconstitutional, according to the council. It's also the circumstances in which the vote took place. The vote, the decree that was announced by the president then was voted in by the National Assembly. And we saw unprecedented scenes where we saw police in riot gear that are normally on the streets inside the national parliament, pushing out MPs that were staging a protest. And then the vote took place. Now, the United States State Department says that that vote was illegitimate. There was concerns from the international community. But this is certainly a blow for President Macky Sall and a victory for those presidential hopefuls that wanted to see this election go ahead. Nastasia?
Nick, there have been street protests ever since this postponement took place. We're seeing some of them on our screens now. There are obviously still a lot of unresolved issues. How free and fair is an election likely to be?
Well, this would be an election without one key figure, or two key figures. Karim Wade, who's currently in exile in Qatar and Doha, who's a figure of the opposition. And then there's Ousmane Sonko, the popular opposition figure that's currently in jail. And that was one of the issues of President Macky Sall. He saw that the elections couldn't go ahead because the circumstances or the list of candidates put in place a chance that there would be some uncertainty over the outcome of these elections. But if you talk to the candidates, they're looking forward to going ahead and to campaign. Now, something to bear in mind is that the Constitutional Council says that the February 25th elections are just 2 weeks away. So that's quite soon. There needs to be a new date that needs to be agreed upon by the president and members of the opposition and candidates. They need to still sit down at the table and decide when this election will take place. But for those who defend the institutions of democracy, for them, it's an incredible victory. There's already announcements made of protests on Friday and on Saturday from members of the opposition, but also from the civil society that are calling for what they describe as political prisoners to be free. We've seen key figures from the opposition and civil society that have been free. 7 of them have been free today, and we're expecting more. Now, that's a sign of appeasement from President Macky Sall that has always called for dialogue, but certainly a historic moment in unprecedented times for Senegal, in a region that has seen several coups. All eyes are on Senegal, a country that has only experienced peaceful transitions of power. And if there's instability in this democracy here in Senegal, it could have a repercussion on the region as a whole. President Macky Sall is not in the country right now. He's at the African Union. He's set to meet with Nigeria's president, who's the head of the West African body, ECOWAS, to discuss more about the crisis and the moves ahead. Nastasia?
Well, certainly a lot of uncertainty ahead, but a big day for Senegal. Nicolas Haque there on the phone to us with all the latest from the Senegalese capital, Dakar. Thanks, Nick. Well, let's go back to Gaza.